Hey, Genesis family, just wanted to take a moment today to kind of give an update regarding our reopen plan. It has been 10, maybe 11 weeks now since our last in-person meeting, and we're going to be online only through the end of May. So this coming Sunday, May 31st, we will continue to be online only, but we are going to reopen for live in-person gathering on Sunday, June the 7th. Now, we're going to follow the CDC guidelines and recommendations. We're going to have social distancing. We've taken out every other row, kind of reduced seating. So one thing we're going to ask you to do, and you'll be receiving a link in this email for you to register to attend. We're going to have a maximum capacity of about 75 to 90, depending on basically the number of family units that show up. Obviously, if we have a row of 6 and a family of 3 comes in, they could virtually take up that entire row, because to maintain social distancing, it wouldn't be possible for another family to sit on that row. Our maximum seating capacity is going to be about 90. So depending on just the numbers in the family units that show up, true capacity is going to be less than that. So we're going to be asking you to register for the service that you're going to attend. Obviously, there will be no hospitality bar. We're going to limit shared touching spaces. We'll have prepackaged communion. There will be no worship guides. We'll be providing digital resources and contact points for you to stay engaged with what's going on and different things. There will be no kids ministry, nursery, preschool, or Genesis Kids for the month of June. We are tentatively targeting the first Sunday in July to begin to open up those ministries. So if you have young children and you're like, man, I'm not sure I can wrestle them through a service, we understand that completely. So if you choose to stay home and continue to engage with us online, we certainly understand that. If you are a little braver and do want to bring your children because maybe you're just ready to get back and gather together with other people, then we encourage you, we're going to continue to post our kids services in advance. So we encourage you to maybe bring your kids, let them engage in the worship with you as a family. And then when the preaching begins, maybe have a device, and a phone or a tablet with headphones that they can watch and engage with the kids service during the preaching. We're going to continue to try to keep services at a 45 to 50 minute time length, which is pretty much what our online experiences have been. So you're not going to have to wrestle kids for an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half. So we're going to do everything we can to accommodate you if you do choose to attend. We'll also have some resource packets for you. I think somebody called them anti-fidget packets, something to occupy your kids when they come, if you choose to bring them. But we are targeting opening our kids ministries back up in July. We know some of you are not ready to get back out, to engage again, that you're being very cautious with this, and we totally understand that. There's no judgment. We completely understand all of the precautions. Here in a moment, I'm going to just take a minute to explain why we've been so cautious to reopen. So one of the things that we have done, obviously churches were able to reopen on May 3rd. We chose not to. We just, as we prayed and talked about it as board and staff, we just felt like there was really no downside risk to us taking our time to reopen. And you guys have been so faithful to engage with us online. Your generosity has been overwhelming in this season. So one of the things that we wanted to do is, we understood not everybody was going to come back. And I've got some friends here in the city that opened back up May the 3rd. I got other friends that pastor here in the city that they opened back up May 17th. And both of them have said the same thing, that attendance has been very slim. So even though there's a small minority of people that are very vocal about, hey, let's get back to life, let's get back to living, that's not the vast majority of people. That the vast majority of people really fall in the middle, that they're not living in fear, and they're not living with reckless abandon. They're just like, we're cautious, and we understand we're dealing with a global pandemic, something that we've never seen, something that we've never lived through. And we're learning new things about this every day. And we're just going to be cautious, and we understand that. So one of the things that we decided was we wanted to be able to continue providing quality online experiences even when we resumed in-person gatherings, and we didn't quite have the technological capabilities to be able to do that. So we've made some investments in technology that's going to enable us to continue to provide quality online experiences, and not just for this season, but even years down the road for those that travel for work, for those that work weekends, for those with kids and youth sports that sometimes the weekends get super crazy and you're not able to physically be here on a Sunday. We still want to be able to meet you where you are. That's our mission statement, to meet people where they are, help them follow Jesus step by step. So we still want to give you the opportunity to gather with us. We've said over and over again during this disruption that the togetherness that we are after is not a shared space, but a shared heart as the body of Christ. So we still want to meet you where you are. According to Ephesians chapter 4, Paul says that God gave the pastors, teachers, evangelists, prophets, and apostles to the church. God gave them ministry gifts, not to do the work of ministry, but to equip God's people to do the work of ministry. And we recognize the work of ministry is not just on Sundays. It's Monday, it's Wednesday, it's at your work, it's in PTA meetings, it's at the ball fields, that God uses you wherever you are to minister to others. And our job is to equip that and encourage you and resource you in your faith so you can live out your God design. So we want to continue to meet you where you are. So we needed a couple of extra weeks, honestly, to get the technology in place. And matter of fact, we're still working on that even now. So one of the reasons that we were slow to reopen was, one, there was just really no downside risk into waiting. We've been watching the numbers closely. Our state began reopening at the end of April, and fortunately so far there's not been any massive spike in numbers of new infections. Our hospitalizations continue to go down, which is all encouraging data, to use the favorite word of our governor. So we've been watching that and hoping that those trends would continue, and they have been. So we're gonna begin to phase in. We're gonna begin to reopen. And I know there are some that are like, man, we should have opened months ago. And our thing is, we just had to evaluate the safety of our body, of understanding that the greatest risk of mass infection is large groups of gathered people. Unfortunately, in my home state of Arkansas, in a town that I lived just south of for about 7 years when we were youth pastoring in Conway, there was a church gathering kind of back when this thing was just beginning to ramp up. They had, I think, a 3-night kid crusade. And somebody unknowingly was carrying the coronavirus, and they wound up, I think 40 to 50 something people wound up getting the coronavirus out of that. A few people died as a result of that. And unfortunately, several large outbreaks can be traced to funerals and weddings and church gatherings, outdoor events where there was a large group of people gathered. So just taking into account all of that information, we just felt the wisest thing for us. And this is not a slam against anybody else, any other church that made any other decision. As we just took into consideration our church body, our church facilities, the layout, our capacity, we just felt that the best way forward for us was one of caution, not fear, but one of caution, taking into account the safety and the welfare of our people. I'll go on a quick rant here. One of the things that's really concerned me in the midst of all this, especially among Christians, is just all of this crying about our rights, our rights, our rights. And I understand that, man. I love America. I love the liberties that we have. I love the freedoms that we have. But at the end of the day, first and foremost, we're Christians. We're Christians. And love doesn't ask, what's in it for me? What's best for me? How can I protect and promote myself at all costs? Love says, what can I do for you? How can I serve you? What can I do to benefit you? One of my favorite verses in Romans chapter 14, Paul says that we have this one debt remaining, and that is to love one another. And love doesn't demand its rights. Love says, what does love require of me? What can I do to serve somebody else? How can I prefer the rights, the needs of another ahead of my own? And that's just the posture that we've tried to assume in this process of what's the best way for us to love our neighbors well. It's not been out of fear. 1 John 4 says that perfect love casts out all fear. We're not walking in fear. We just want to live in love. So be sure and read through your email today just to stay up to date on all of the precautions, kind of our plans for reopening. We love you guys. We can't wait to gather with you again. I will say this, if you're in the older or more vulnerable population, maybe immunocompromised, man, we encourage you to stay home for a little while longer until we continue to see this thing play out a little bit, that we can learn more. We know some of you, especially in the older generation, you grew up kind of like I did, that when the church doors were open, we came. You know, that's what it meant to be a Christian. Like, church is open a Sunday morning, we went. Sunday night, we went. Wednesday night, we went. Revival, we went. Monday night prayer meeting, we went. And we love that, and we honor that so much. But if you have any trepidation, please understand that we do not operate from the mindset that if the doors are open, we expect you to be here. We love you more than anything, and we want to serve you, and we want to honor you, and we want to love you well. And if you feel like the best thing for you is to continue to kind of stay cautious, man, we totally respect that. The last thing we would want to do is put pressure on you to be here and put you at risk of something. So, and those that are immunocompromised as well. Man, we love you guys. If you need anything, we'll go out of our way to serve you. And we will meet you where you are. And if that means you staying at home for a while and engaging in this digital space, we totally honor that and respect you. And we are here for you. You do not exist for Genesis. Genesis exists for you. It exists for our community. And we want to love and we want to serve you well. So, again, look through your email today. Just more information, especially if you're a parent. Make sure you have, and if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot Serena an email at Serena at MyGenesis.TV. She will have all the answers. If you've been around Genesis any length of time, you would know better than to ask me a detail anyway. But man, we look forward to gathering with you guys again. It's going to be hard, man, not hugging, not shaking hands, high five and all that stuff. We're a high touch environment, man. We love to gather with one another, and obviously we won't be able to do that for a while. But you know, for a while we're just going to wave. We're going to finger gun. Maybe we'll like virtually fist pump each other. But man, we do look forward to gathering with those that are able and wanting to gather again soon. And for the rest of you, man, we're just going to continue to do all that we can to connect with you in these kind of environments, to meet you in this digital space, to love you the best we can, and to encourage you the best that we can. We love you guys. We are better together. We are better together. We are the body of Christ. And it's not just about meeting together. The essence of church is not our physical gathering. That's an important component. But the essence of church is Christ. We are the body of Christ, meaning we embody the Spirit of Jesus, not just on Sundays for an hour, hour and a half, but we embody the Spirit of Jesus anywhere that we are in the sphere of influence that God has given us. And church helps to encourage that awareness, that perspective. But at the end of the day, it's not about coming to church. It's about being the church. And that's what it means when we say that we are better together. But I've preached long enough. I love you guys. We look forward to gathering with you again soon.